Something a little different today, and welcome to Live at 6:45. I am actually pre-filming this particular segment, but I will be on to answer questions at the end. So I wanted to kind of talk about gaming, and this is where it's going to get interesting. For those of you who are gamers, you guys are familiar with the fact that there is PC gaming and console, right? And of course, let me do the really quick version. Once upon a time, there were 3 video game systems. No, not what you're thinking. Well, maybe it is. Originally, there was Magnavox and Pong. Magnavox never really made it much further than, like, never really got off the ground. Pong did. And thus came Atari, ColecoVision, and Intellivision, which was supplanted by Nintendo. And eventually Sony jumped in with PlayStation, and Microsoft jumped in with Xbox. So those became the big 3, the whole, well, the video game trilogy, trinity. And now there have been multiple generations: PS1, PS2, PS3 for PlayStation. So Sony's PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we're at 5. Xbox had the Xbox 360, the Xbox One, which had the S and X variations, and then there is the Xbox Series X, which is the newest, uber current gen, hoopty console, which is competing with the PS5. And then you have Nintendo, who had the Nintendo, the Super Nintendo, the N64, the GameCube, Wii U, and now the Switch. And I'm not counting the handhelds, although there are a bunch of handhelds: the Game Boy, the DS, and right up to the DS and DS 3DS. So anyway, all that. But all that to say, there's been we are currently looking at a model where there's PC on one side and then consoles collectively on the other, and that gets kind of interesting. But there's now going to be an interruption. There's also one other problem, and that is Xbox was one of the first to create this really, really comprehensive network system where the game developers didn't have to build their own networks every single time. Microsoft handled that for them, and it was a big selling point of the platform for the developers, because players could play multiplayer games, could sign up for the service, because it was an expensive service to run. They were the first to have voice chat and everything integrated, and they did a really good job on it, to be very honest. And I will give Microsoft full credit on that one. That one was really, really good. PlayStation, of course, followed with PlayStation Network, which they said would be free forever until they decided it wasn't, and then it became PlayStation Gold. Not that that's a bad thing, just that it's kind of sucky when they promise one thing and then they turn around and say, "Oh, sorry, on second thought." So anyway. With the Switch, Nintendo was always free to play, but it was always a real pain to get the games connected, because there were very few games that played multiplayer, and each game had to be connected independently of everything else. So it was really quite convoluted. The Wii was really, really quite the thing. So the Switch really fixed a lot of that, and Nintendo has followed suit, because they do have a lot of services, especially the cloud-based services and the saves and all of that. They have Nintendo Online, which is a paid service, although it is by far the cheapest of the 3. I believe I pay, I talked about family subscriptions yesterday. The Nintendo account that I have can have up to 8 people. I have 7 on there, not included, like myself included, but 7 people on there, and I pay $40 a year. And that gives me all the benefits and features and whatnot. And if you want me to talk more about that, I can. I won't do it here. So the reason I'm kind of talking about all this today, and why we got up to kind of the history of gaming, is there's about to be a big interruption. So on the PC side, you used to go out and buy a CD-ROM or diskettes way back in the day, and then CD-ROM replaced that, and then you started downloading your games and whatnot, and then this company came out, Valve came out with Steam. Now, Valve created games. Steam was the distribution platform. And it was so good that other game companies started jumping on, especially indie games, and they really kind of tacked on, and Steam became this really, really big powerhouse. It's the central cradle for all things game, if you're on the PC side. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh wait, well, you need a PC or even a Mac. So a lot of the games work on there's a lot of games that work on Mac as well and whatnot. So you go to Steam and you have access to everything, and it's really cool, and it links up to other services and whatnot, and Twitch and all of that. So this gets really, really interesting, because all of a sudden Steam has now decided that they're going to come out with their own hardware. Now this has been kind of they've been kind of toying around with the idea of launching a console, but now they're launching something that is effectively trying to compete on the platform market, but it does everything a PC does. It's basically a portable PC in a really, really tight, and I'm going to show you it right here. So there's a little look at what this thing looks like. And the reason this is such a game changer is because this item is a full-on, it hooks up, you can get a docking station, it hooks up to your television and you can use it like a full-fledged gaming console. It has all the PC options. You can, if you want to, it runs Steam OS, which is a Linux, so it has its own operating system, but if you want to, you can actually install Windows on this thing. You can connect it to a monitor, a mouse, and a keyboard and use it as a full-fledged, honest-to-God PC, or take it handheld and move around with it, and you can still play everything that's on the Steam platform, and it's not quite as light. It's not quite double the Switch with its Joy-Cons on it, but this thing, they will have suspend resume like a lot of the game systems do now. So it's somewhere in between the full-on PC hardcore Hulk, Hulk game, and the console, which, don't get me wrong, consoles are powerful and they're highly specialized. So the advantage being that when you get a game for a console, I've talked about this before, when you get a game for a console, it just works because the developers have the same spec across the board. What makes the Steam offering currently so interesting is that it's non-upgradable. So it's not the constantly upgrading thing that the PC is, but it's not so it's fixed like a console, but it's trying to do everything the PC does. So it gets real interesting when you get into this kind of, hey, it's kind of the Reese's peanut butter cups of gaming systems. It's hey, you stuck your chocolate in my peanut butter. Hey, you stuck your peanut butter in my chocolate. Well, if it's good or not remains to be seen, because this thing is only coming out in December. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes, how this drives console makers, how this drives PC gaming, and what's going to happen with all of it. The other thing that I want to mention, that this is going to, there's been something for a long time. I mentioned that the game platform creators like Microsoft and Sony made their own network so the game developers don't have to. Well, why would the game developers? Because companies like EA that have made these massive server systems and have their own network allow for something called cross-platform. This means that they can release the same game for PC, Xbox, PlayStation, even Switch, and all four can play against each other, or with each other. They can talk to each other because the server is common to all that game. Those games are common by that server system. Whereas the Xbox server doesn't talk to the PlayStation, like Microsoft servers don't talk to Sony servers. They definitely don't talk to Nintendo servers. And so it really gets interesting because these servers are expensive. It's really it's a big deal to run these huge services. But now this middle ground system is going to cause this huge. It's going to either, actually it'll push for more cross-platform play because there will be more demand for it, and cross-save. So the idea that I could play on my Switch, I could play on an Xbox at home, pick up on my Switch somewhere else, and then play on my phone or tablet on the bus is kind of cool. So this is something that's coming, and one of the big announcements that was made this Saturday for Warframe, because I play Warframe, I like Warframe, I am a Warframe buff. They are doing that. They are setting up, they are amalgamating all their servers and coming out with a mobile app so that you could play Warframe on your phone or tablet, and you can play alongside your Switch players, your Xbox players, your PlayStation players, your PC players. It doesn't matter where you are, you can play with everyone. And this is a big thing and it's no small feat. So it's a huge deal, and I encourage you to have a little, check it out and see what you think. If you have any more questions on it, emails here, by all means, check it out. Ask me in the email, ask me on the comments. Strike a conversation. I could talk about this. Quite a bit. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. I can't wait to see you guys tomorrow at 6:45, and we're gonna have some more fun. By the way, yes, I should mention behind me. This is Mary Queen of the World. It's one of the. It's a very, very big church in downtown Montreal, and it is modeled after St. Peter's Basilica. In fact, the pulpit there is an oratory pulpit in there that is a scale replica of the one they have in St. Peter's. So it's kind of up the side of a column. It's really cool. Very, very beautiful architecture, and you'll notice that it's all behind me, and they've got the saints all along the top. So it's modeled after St. Peter's. It's kind of cool, and it's a neat site if you happen to be visiting Montreal. It's kind of right in the middle of downtown, so hard to miss. All right, thanks for tuning in. See you guys tomorrow for Live at 6:45.